Do you feel the vibe?
Good day everyone! Today we're going to talk about changing fractions, decimals, and percentage. In this lesson, you are expected to first determine the rules in changing fractions to decimal, 2% and vice versa, and to solve real-life problems involving fractions, decimals, and percentage. Supermarket is one of the places where you can buy what you need and what you want. We can also avail products with discounts, especially when there's a sale on items that we need. Considering the prices, sales, and discounts, you will be dealing with fractions, decimals, and percentage even if you're outside the classroom. In this lesson, you will learn the concepts of fractions, decimals, and percentage, and how to change fractions to decimals and percentage, and vice versa. As you read the lesson, take note of the answers for the following guide questions. How do we change fractions to decimal and percent, and vice versa? Fractions. A fraction describes a part of a whole when the whole is cut into equal parts. For examples, we have here 1/5, 4/9, and 7/15. Another way is that we have here the decimals. When a number is written in decimal notation, we call it a decimal number or simply decimal. For examples, we have here 5 hundredths, 4 tenths, and 46 hundredths. As you observe 4 tenths and 46 hundredths, we have here a bar or a line above them. That represents a terminating decimals. You can watch other mathematics videos about the difference between a repeating or terminating decimals. The last one is the percentage. Percentage is a number or ratio expressed as a fraction of 100. It is often denoted using the percent sign. For examples, we have here 5%, 40%, or 46%. Fractions, decimals, and percents are different ways of representing part of a whole. We could say 50% of something, or 1/2, or 5/10. These are all the same quantity. Fractions can be converted into other forms. Fraction to decimal, decimal to percent, percent to fraction, and so on and so forth. Let us now convert fractions into decimals. In converting fractions to decimals, we need to divide the top of the fraction, or so what we call the numerator, by the bottom or the denominator of the fraction. For example, we have 1/2 that is equal to 1 divided by 2. And the answer is equal to 0.5 or 5/10. Let us look for other examples. Let's have convert 25/100 into a decimal number. For our solution, we need to simply divide 25, which is the numerator, by the 100 or the denominator. So, 25 cannot be divided into 100. That's why we write here 0. Okay, so now let us add a decimal point and a 0 on the right side of 5. So from 25, we have 250. So 250 divided by 100, that is equal to 2. And 2 multiplied by 100, that is equal to 200. Then 250 divided by, or rather minus 200, that is equal to 5 or 50. So bring down 0. So we have now 500. 500 divided by 100, that is 5. And 5 multiplied by 100 is equal to 500. So 500 minus 500 is equal to 0. So we have here 0.25 or 25 hundredths. So we can actually solve this fraction into using a shortcut method. This is just simply count the decimal places or the number of zeros. For instance, we have 25 over 100. The number of zeros in 100 or in the denominator is 2. We have 2 zeros. So we simply write 25, then 2 decimal places since we have 2 zeros. So that would be 0.25 or 25 hundredths. Okay? So our answer is that 25 over 100 is simply equal to 0.25 or 25 hundredths. Let us have another example. Write 2 3/4 in decimal form. For our solution, once again, let us divide the numerator by the denominator. So we have here 3 divided by 4. Once again, it cannot be. So we need to add a decimal point and a 0 on the right side of 3. So we have now 30. So 30 divided by 4 is equal to 7. And 7 times 4 is equal to 28. 30 minus 28 is equal to 2. Bring down again 0. So we have 20. 20 divided by 4 is equal to 5. And 5 divided by 4 or 5 times 4 is equal to 20. So we have 20 minus 20 is equal to 0. Don't forget that you need to align all the decimal points para maganda yung magiging result of your answer. So sometimes, if namamali kayo ng pagkakatapat-tapat ng inyong mga numbers as well as the decimal point, there's a tendency that your answer would be incorrect. So we can say now that by the result, 3/4 is simply equal to 0.75 or 75 hundredths. But do not forget the whole number that we have because this is a mixed number. So we can simply add the whole number on the computed decimal number. So we have 2 plus 0.75 is equal to 2.75 or 2 75 hundredths. In that case, our final answer is that 2 3/4 is equal to 2 75 hundredths. Let us now move into converting decimals to fractions. In this area, you need to count the number of decimal places of the given decimal number. Then, the decimal places will represent zeros, in which will be the denominator of the fractions. Let us now follow several steps in converting decimals to fractions. Step 1 is that we need to write down the decimal divided by 1 like this, decimal 1. Step 2 is that to multiply both top and bottom by 10 for every number after the decimal point. For example, if there are 2 numbers after the decimal point, then use 100. If there are 3, then use 1000, and etc. And for step number 3, do not forget to simplify or reduce the fraction. So let us have an example. For number 1, we have to write 0.175 in fraction form. Do not forget how to read the decimal number correctly. This is, instead of saying 0.175, we have here 175 thousandths. Because if you can recall, we read the decimal as tenths, hundredths, and thousandths. Diba? The whole number is ones, tenths, hundreds. I think that's a lesson in grade 1 or 2. Then, so we have here 175 thousandths. I read it as thousandths. In that case, we can have, there are 3 decimal places in which it can represent as 3 zeros. So we have here 175 all over, or 175 all over 1000, because 1000 has 3 zeros. So we just need to simplify the fraction by looking for the greatest common factor of 175 and 1000, and that is 25. So we have 175 divided by 25 is equal to 7, and 1000 divided by 25 is equal to 40. So for our answer, 175 thousandths is equal to 7 over 40. Let's take a look at this another example. For number 2, we need to convert 2 and 35 hundredths to fraction form in lowest term. So for our solution is that we need to separate the whole numbers. So we have now the 35 hundredths. Okay, 2 decimal places, meaning to say we need to add 2 zeros. So we have 35 over 100. So what is the GCF of 35 and 100? That is 5. So we have here 35 divided by 5 is equal to 7, and 100 divided by 5 is equal to 20. Then simply add the whole number. So in that case, our final answer is 2 and 35 hundredths is simply equal to 2 and 7 over 20. Next one is, let's talk about converting decimals to percents. So in this area, you need to multiply by 100 to convert a number from decimal to percent, then simply add a percent sign. So for example, we have here to convert 25 hundredths to percent. So just simply multiply 25 hundredths by 100 so we can get 25. Then add the percent sign. So our final answer is that 0.25 or 25 hundredths is equal to 25%. For number 2, we have here a whole number. Okay, so we have 5 and 5 hundredths, 2% or 5.05. So for our solution, we have 5.05 multiplied by 100 is that we have 505%. So for our answer, 5.05 or 5 and 5 hundredths is simply equal to 505%. Another way is that on how we can convert percent to decimal. So we simply need to divide, this time we need to divide, okay? Divide by 100 to convert a percent to a decimal and simply remove the percent sign. So for example is that we have to convert 25% to decimal. For instance, you still don't know how what is the conversion of 25% to 0.25, although you already noticed this in the previous discussion. So for our solution is that we simply need to divide 25 by 100. So once again, 25 cannot be divided by 100, so we need to add a decimal point and 0. So it became 250. So 250 divided by 100 is equal to 2. Then 2 multiplied by 100, we have 200. So 250 minus 200, we have 50. Okay? So from 50, bring down 0. So we have here 500. So 500 divided by 100 is equal to 5. And 5 times 100 is equal to 500. So 500 minus 500 is equal to 0. So for our answer now is that 25% is simply equal to 25 hundredths or 0.25. Another example is to write 505% to decimal form. So again, divide 505 or the given percent to 100. So 505 divided by 100 is equal to 5. Then 5 multiplied by 100, we have 500. So 505 minus 500 is equal to 5. Bring down 0. So 50 divided by 100, that is 0. Okay? Then 0 times 100 is 0. So 50 minus 0 is equal to 50. Once again, bring down 0. So from 50, it became 500. And 500 divided by 100 is equal to 5. And 5 times 100 is equal to 500. So 500 minus 500 is equal to 0. So for our answer is that 505% is simply equal to 5 and 500 or 5.05. Second to the last is converting percent to fraction. So in this part, we need to follow several steps. Okay, so step number 1 is first to write down the percent divided by 100 like this. Percent all over 100. Okay, step number 2 is if the percent is not a whole number, then multiply both top and bottom by 10 for every number after the decimal point. For example, if there is one number after the decimal, then use 10. If there are 2, then use 100, and etc. And for step number 3, once again, is to simplify or reduce the fraction. For example, we need to convert 25% to fraction. Okay, so we've been using 25 as an example. So 25, first step is to put 100. So 25 over 100. So just simply find the GCF or the greatest common factor of 25 and 100, and that is 25. So 25 divided by 25 is 1, and 100 divided by 25 is equal to 4. So for our answer, 25% is equal to 1/4, of course, when simplified. Another example is this. We need to write 62.5% to fraction, or 62 and 5/10. Okay, so for our solution is that we need to write, of course, the percent, 62.5 as the numerator and 100 as the denominator. So since this is in decimal, or it has decimal point, we need to make this as a whole number. How we can use this by simply, or we can convert 62.5 into a whole number by simply multiplying both the numerator and the denominator by 10. Okay, so we can cancel out the decimal point. So from 62.5, we multiplied it by 10, we get 625. So of course, we also need to multiply 100 by 10. So 100 multiplied by 10, that is equal to 1,000. Now, from 62.5 over 100, we have now 625 over 1,000. So the next thing to do is to find the greatest common factor of the two numbers, and that is 125. So 625 divided by 125 is equal to 5, and 1,000 divided by 125 is equal to 8. So for our answer is that we have 62.5% is equal to 5 over 8. Lastly is the converting fraction to percent. So to convert fraction to percent, we simply need to divide the numerator by the denominator. Then multiply the result by 100 and put the percent sign. So for example, we have to write 5 over 8 in percent. Okay, just like earlier, pinagbaliktad lang natin. So for our solution is that we need to divide 5 by 8. So that is 0. So we need to add the decimal point and 0. Okay, so from 5 we have 50. So 50 divided by 8, that is 6. 6 times 8 is 48. 50 minus 48 is equal to 2. Bring down 0. So we have 20 divided by 8 is equal to 2. And 2 times 8 is equal to 16. So 20 minus 16 is equal to 4. Bring down 0. So 40 divided by 8 is equal to 5. And 5 times 8 is equal to 40. So 40 minus 40 is equal to 0. So we have now 0.625 or 625 hundredths. To convert this in percent, we need to multiply this decimal by 100 and add a percent sign. So 625 hundredths multiplied by 100 is simply equal to 62.5%. So for our last example is we need to convert 1/4 in percent. So once again, we need to pursue the process of dividing the numerator by the denominator, meaning to say the process of converting a fraction to decimal, then decimal to percent. That's why when you divide 1 by 4, we have here 25 hundredths, and 25 hundredths multiplied by 100 is simply equal to 25%. I know that you can convert fraction, decimals, and percent without using calculator, okay? We are dealing with this, we are learning this so that even though you don't have calculators or cell phones, you can solve fractions, decimals, and percentage. So before we end this discussion, I want you to know that you shouldn't be afraid of numbers, but instead, you should find the meaning of these numbers in your real life situations. Okay, so hopefully you learned something new today about the conversion of fractions, decimals, and percentage. So I will send to you your activities, of course. So thank you and God bless.